Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsay's Little Library. I'm here today because over the last few weeks I've had a number of conversations with some of my bookish friends, and I keep saying, oh, the dilemmas of a book nerd. So I've decided to turn this into a book tag because I'm looking for some opinions from everybody out there on how they handle each of these little situations that I've kind of come across over the last month or so. So we're going to just go ahead and dive into the dilemmas of a book nerd tag. I have 10 dilemmas that us book nerds probably face more often than not, and I just want to chat about how I handle these dilemmas, and of course I want to hear from you, and what do you do in these situations? Because, again, only a book nerd will understand these situations, but what do you do? Let me know. So dilemma number 1, book storage. How do you store and organize your books? Now, I've seen a number of organization videos out there. I've talked to a number of people of how they're organizing their books. And everybody has their own little way of doing it, and I know I change my mind every so often and completely reorganize my shelves. So the way I'm doing things, I have a number of bookshelves in my house. This is kind of my main one. This is what I'm working off of kind of more often than not. So this is where I keep any books that I have to read in the near future. My latest book hauls I keep down here so that I don't forget which ones I've bought recently and I haven't shared with you guys yet, because I don't want to put them away and not tell you what I've bought. And then any review books that I need to make sure I pay attention to are up here. So this is kind of my working shelf that I work off of. I have another shelf that has my Book of the Month Club books on, as well as I did an Advent book exchange with Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand and Lisa from Books and Smiles. And so I have each of the books that I got from them on 2 shelves out there. Because again, I want to keep them separate so that I know who to give credit to when I do read those books. Then I have my bookshelves that are in the basement. I know, so many bookshelves. Where I have one full shelf of all of the books I've read. So as I read them, once I share them with you, because as I'm, I got to do my wrap up every month. Once I've done sharing them with you, they all go onto my shelf of all of the books I've ever read. And then my other shelf has all of the other books that I have not read. So they're kind of spaced all over the place, which makes it kind of hard to remember exactly where every single thing is. Borrowed books stay up here so I don't get lost in the shuffle of downstairs. I also have a hidden bookcase in the storage area of my house as well. Books that I am pretty sure I'm going to be unhauling go on that bookcase because, just in case I want to keep them and maybe bring them back out. It doesn't happen often, but they all go on that bookshelf. So that's how I organize my books. Dilemma number 2, tracking. When you read as many books as a true book nerd does, you don't want to lose track of the books you've read or the book versus the books you want to read versus the books you own. So how do you keep track of those 3 things? I know I rely on Goodreads probably a little bit too much, but Goodreads does a great job of tracking the books that I've read versus the books that I want to read. I do have a problem on there with what books do I own. So there has definitely been times where I've bought a book that I already have on my bookshelves. Not too many times, but there's been a few. Good thing I have a number of book friends out there I can, share with and give them to if I need to. But Goodreads is definitely what I use to track what I've read versus what I want to read. I need a better method of tracking what I own. I do use another app called LibBib, I believe. I've used that in the past. I just need to be better about keeping that up to date, and that's a really great way where you can scan all of the books you own and it'll keep them there for you as well. So that's how I track. Dilemma number 3, to borrow or not to borrow. Do you borrow your books out to your friends? So I love sharing my love for a book with other people. I get annoyed when I don't get my books back, which happens every so often. And my problem is I don't keep track of who I give my books to as well as I should. I probably should have a list. I do call this Lindsay's Little Library. There should be some sort of checkout system. I don't know. I need to be better at that. But I would hate to never borrow books out because then what's the point? I want to share these with people. I want people to love the books as much as I love them. So I do lend them out. I have a small list of people in my head who've been banned from borrowing my books because they've wrecked them. There's a small list of people in my head who will remain nameless for this purpose that I will not borrow books to. The ones who are really great about getting them back to me, I have my cousin, any of my book club friends. They're awesome about returning my books. Cool, I will lend them out to you as much as you could want them as long as I get them back. Dilemma number 4, buying and acquiring. When you are a book nerd and you love books as much as we do, you like to collect them a little bit. Hopefully, maybe. So, how do you acquire your books? I acquire mine in a number of different ways. I have, of course, some free little libraries that I like to visit. That's where I visit my shelf that's in the back of the basement, and I take a few books off of there and we make our way around and try to see what the free little libraries have. My library also has a bookstore inside of it where they are constantly adding new books to that, where the books are only $1. Yep, $1. One single dollar. That's where I've gotten a number of books for pretty cheap. And they're pretty good about getting newer releases out there as well. So I visit my library quite frequently. The other way I do acquire books, library sales are great as well. Goodwill is good. Thrift stores are good. Bookoutlet.com. That's a really great place to go for some cheap books. And if I'm really in a bind, Amazon or Barnes & Noble, you know, if you just need it. Because sometimes you do. Barnes & Noble does have the table buy 2 get 1 free, which I don't mind, and I usually find 3 on there, which ends up equating to, I don't know, $9 or $10 a book, which isn't too bad in my book, but I don't do it very often. All right, dilemma number 5. This is a big one for me. How do you handle all of the comments that you get? And it's not necessarily the comment themselves, because I'm open to anybody asking me questions on how I do things. I find it interesting that they find it interesting in how I live my life, but it's the way they say it. For example, how do you find time to read so much? Like, do you pay attention to your kids? Or why would you want to own so many books? It's the way that it's said, right? Why should it matter how much I read or how I find time for how much I read? My snarky comment would be like, I don't know, Nancy, how do you find time to play bingo every night? I don't. I hold back. My typical answer is something like, it's something I love to do. It's a passion of mine. I always try to find time in the day to read at least a little bit. It's just something I love to do. But I do get slightly annoyed by the comments. Like, what does it matter to you what I do? And I really hate it when they accuse me of ignoring my kids to read. Not that I haven't ignored my kids to read, because let's just be honest, sometimes moms gotta do that. But don't think that that's what I'm doing all of the time. And so that kind of hurts. That hits home a little bit. But how do you respond to comments? Because maybe I need a little help with that. Dilemma number 6, how do you pick your next book? That is like the dilemma I face most of the time, is I've just finished a really great book and now I have this plethora of ideas to pick from. Do I pick up my next book club book that I have to read? Do I pick up my next 5-star prediction book that I have to read because I'm obligated to you guys to tell you what I think of it? Do I pick off of my review shelf up here? Do I just pick a book that I really want to read, that I'm just feeling a gut to read? Do I pick up the newest release? Do I go back into my backlist? Do I continue with a series? So many options. How do you pick your next book? I personally try to go in priority. I need to keep up with my book clubs or my buddy reads. That tends to dictate what I pick up next, but every so often, at least twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, I get to just go to my shelf and pick out whatever feels good to me, which is fun as well. But how do you pick your next book? What do you do? Dilemma number 7, travel. Anytime I'm going on vacation, whether it's for 4 days or a week or a month, whatever it is, okay, I never gone on vacation for a month, that would be glorious, but anytime I'm heading out on the road, I'm always wondering, well, how do I pick a book to bring with me? Do I bring my big old bulky hardcover book that I'm currently reading? Or do I grab my tablet and read off of there because it's so much easier? Most likely I'm grabbing both, because what if our plane's delayed and I'm stuck in the airport and I finish a book and I didn't bring anything else with me? I would hate to be in that predicament because I don't like to buy books at the airports because they're really expensive. So I'm always bringing my tablet no matter what, because it's a little easier to read on a plane. Plus I have a plethora of options to choose from. But I also always have a physical book with me because there's nothing better than sitting at the beach, hearing the waves, and having a book with you. Plus people tend to leave you alone if you have a book with you. So how do you pick your books for travel? What do you do? Book dilemma number 8. Do you write in your books? Do you? Do you bend the pages to notate it? Do you put sticky notes in it? What do you do? I like having pretty books, but I will write all over the inside of them if I need to. I highlight, I put tabs in them. I like to come back to those parts of that book that really hit home for me. I like to remember that. My problem is I don't always remember to have a pen with me. I know. But I will. I'm not afraid of doing that. I know some people who would never write in their books, but I do that, and I like it, especially when I'm handing it off to somebody, because there'll be times where they will come back to me and be like, oh, that part that you highlighted absolutely hit me too, or they'll wonder, why did you write in that part, or why was that special to you? It just creates a little more conversation and makes it a little more interesting. But do you write in your books? Do you annotate them in any way? Book dilemma number 9, new releases versus the backlist. Which do you tend to navigate to more? I tend to be a fan of the backlist because I am typically pretty stingy with my book buying habit. I feel like I can get more for my money when I'm looking at the backlist more than I am with new releases. Now that doesn't mean I will never get a new release. Jodi Picoult, Colleen Hoover, Heather Gutenkopf, Kristen Hanna, those are my auto-buy authors. If they're coming out with a book, I am buying it. And period. That's it. That's just happening. There are a few series that I have to buy right away. Children of Blood and Bone, I need to, like, the second one is supposed to be out already, but now we gotta wait till December, but whatever. So I have to buy those right away. But I do tend to navigate towards the backlist. I feel like that has given it time to really see what other people are thinking of the book. Who else do I respect in the bookish community? Their opinions, what do they think about it? Is this something I'm gonna like? Because when I'm putting my money into books and I'm buying a book, I want it to be a good book. So what do you guys tend to navigate towards? New releases or the backlist? And book dilemma number 10, sequels. When you know that there's a series, are you one that waits until the whole series is out so you can just binge it, or do you just start with one and you're fine with waiting for the rest of them? I don't have an answer for this. I fall somewhere in the middle. I have a couple of series downstairs that I'm just kind of waiting for them to all be done before I continue on with them. But then again, there's a few, like Children of Blood and Bone, that I picked up right away, and now I have to be on that waiting list for the next one and the next one. Because I still remember when I got obsessed with Harry Potter and I had to wait like that year or more for the next book, and it was just torture, whereas I just would love to blow through it. But it does give you time to reread if you want to kind of soak in that story before the next one comes in. So I'm like 50-50 on this. But I'm just curious as to what other people do. Do you wait for the whole series, or do you just not care and pick it up right away? So those are my 10 book nerd dilemmas that I face probably more often than not, that I would like some opinions back on. I want to know what you guys are doing. So I'm going to tag a few people in this tag video. So I'm going to tag Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand, Krista from Books and Jams, Katie from Girl About Library, and Vicki from Chapter 32. So I'd love to see what you guys have to say about your own little book nerd dilemmas. Make sure to post your video below. Let me know that you've done the tag, and I will see it because I want to know it. And anybody out there, whoever, if you face some book nerd dilemmas and you want to chat about them, I highly encourage you to do this tag as well. Comment below with your dilemmas. Let me know if you've made a video. Let's chat about it, because I know I'm not the only one that faces these, like, sometimes on a daily basis. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.